Welcome back, everyone. I have done a little bit of landscaping since the last episode, and let me show you what I've done. So, you'll recall that last episode we put down these gravel road paths and switched out this tree of time, or transformation, for the tree that was there, just a standard spruce. That has changed the color of all of the flora here. But I also went and found a magical grove biome in the Twilight Forest, got some of the fiddleheads that spawn there normally, and so you can see that, and of course it's raining. You can see that here. I've planted some ferns and fiddleheads. Over here I planted some flowers and flowers on each side. A lot of shimmerleaf over here. I'm going to get some mana beans though, actually. Let's... Yeah, there we go. I have a couple. I might not be able to plant them. Ugh. That's too bad, because this isn't actually a magical biome where this tree is. I've got to think of another kind of flower I can put here, because just having the shimmerleaf is a little bit underwhelming. I could get cinder pearl, but I don't think I can put that here unless I get sand, and I don't think that would look very good. Now I'm noticing that I'm not hearing any of this rain, and I'm not complaining. I'm just a little worried. I don't know why I'm not hearing the rain. Oh, sorry. Yes, I do. I turned my particle effects off. I don't quite know why that stops the sound of rain, but oh well. I'm glad it doesn't stop that. That's pretty cool. All the particles from my blood magic gear were getting in my way, and I didn't want them for now. So that is why the particle effects are off. Okay. The other thing I did, landscaping-wise... Oops. Okay. Gotta get used to not having flight. There we go. So, I planted trees. I decided that I had enough saplings that I wanted to plant some different trees around our base. So I've got a great wood here, and then I planted a bunch of the rainbow saplings that I found in the Twilight Forest out here. I think what I have to do is probably harvest some of these smaller ones, get more saplings, plant more, make a bit of a thicker grove. But yeah, so I did that over there. Over here, I planted some of the canopy, or darkwood trees, darkwood, that I got from the Twilight Forest. It makes a neat little sort of roofed forest here. Pretty cool. Over here, I went for the canopy trees, again from Twilight Forest, which gives it kind of an airy feel, and I don't know, I planted some of these magic trees over here. These are biomes of plenty. I don't know, I just liked the look of it from the door here, to have those magic trees there. Finally, I took a Twilight Forest mangrove tree, put it here over this pond, just because the pond was bothering me. I don't know. I've been meaning to do more to beautify my surroundings for a while, and I think this is a good start. I think I need more saplings. I think I used up all my Twilight Forest saplings doing this. And if I get more, I can plant some more trees around. I want eventually, from the inside of my base here, to be able to see high things on the outside. So I have to do something in this area. There I've got mountains, maybe this area too. I just think just seeing the sky is kind of boring sometimes. Okay, I did one more thing. I went flicker hunting again, and I got the flickers needed for a flicker focus of lunar tides. And this one actually attracts all of the meteors that fall within, I believe, a 128 block radius. That covers the whole base. So any of the meteors that fall anywhere within the whole base should end up here on this patch of dirt. Actually, they end up within 8 blocks of the flicker focus. And I had one land down here, the only other place as far as I can tell where it could. So I replaced all this grass in this line with openings to the sky with conduit facades that looked exactly the same. I think that should prevent the meteors from landing there. So they should land here on this patch of earth, allowing me to harvest them. Okay, now let's get into what we're going to do today. So I spent a bit of time playing around here in our mob spawn room. I believe I called it the Monsteriary. Oh goodness, I had some sort of strange, unpronounceable name. The Monsterarium, the Monsteriary, I don't know. Certainly it's a monstrosity. So what I did, first, I changed all the background of the control panel with this futuristic armor plating. I don't know. I was really hoping that all of these would become connected textures, but as it turns out, anywhere that's a conduit facade version and anywhere that is a drawbridge version won't connect with the surrounding blocks. I don't know if I like the broken up look of this. I might be better off with something that doesn't have connected textures. There are other versions of this futuristic armor plating that I might use. I could switch those out. I'm not sure yet. I also did some experimentation. So here's the deal. And I think I might have mentioned it before. I want more than just being able to walk up to any of these buttons, press the button, and begin spawning the mob. I want my AE system to be able to do the same thing. And getting that to happen is a little bit more difficult than I originally thought it would be. Because not only do we need a way for the AE system to signal that it needs something more, we also need the AE system with that signal to clear anything that's in the mob spawner, because that's part of how this mob spawner has to work. You have to clear something that's in it before you can put something else into it. We have to select which of the safari nets goes into the spawner. We need them to get there, and then, because we don't want to be constantly spawning them, we need to wait some amount of time and then remove them from the spawner. And I think I've figured out how I'm going to do this. It's going to involve a little bit of AE integration. So we will use our AE system, and that's going to allow us to have it call easily for what it needs. But I'll get to that integration as I'm building it. For now, I want to show you the concept of how I am going to have the system notice that something needs to get spawned, clear out whatever's in the spawner, and put the ball in it. Oh goodness, sorry, did not stifle that yawn. Okay, so here's what I've come up with, and it involves a lot of Project Red logic circuits. So, I'll walk you through this, I'll show you how it works, and then we will get to building it in the actual place it's going to go, because this is not where it's going to be functioning. So we have here a chest. The item that is the safari net that contains the mob we want to spawn will end up in this chest. When it does, this comparator will produce a redstone signal. Anytime there's anything in the chest, it will produce a redstone signal. That will flip this toggle latch, which will change the output of it. So this is, as you can see, the output of the toggle latch is over here. That change is going to do two things. First, it's going to come here and relieve the inhibition of this timer, and this timer will start counting down. That's going to be important later for clearing the safari net out of the mob spawner. The second thing that's going to happen is the signal will travel down here to this NOT gate, which will then activate and hit this pulse former. The pulse former is going to send a 1-tick pulse out to this piece of redstone, which will then get transferred here to this repeater, and this is a Project Red repeater, which is important because a normal repeater can only implement a delay of up to 8 ticks, and that is not enough. I've found that these Ender IO conduits require a signal at least 10 ticks long to actually a vanilla repeater might only be able to do 4 ticks. Either way, sorry, I need at least 10 ticks, and I originally was planning on putting sort of a long, a pulse lengthener, which involves a number of different vanilla repeaters. And then I realized, oh wait, I bet the Project Red repeater can go longer than 4 ticks. So I looked, it can go up to 16. So this is set to 16, which is long enough. That sends a signal through this redstone conduit all the way over here, and that's going to activate this item conduit, tell it to draw whatever's inside the chest out, which will land it in the pedestal. And this pedestal is a stand-in for this one over here that you may remember is kind of the temporary landing space for anything that we want to eventually get up into the mob spawner, which allows that redstone pulse, which, oh goodness, okay, allows this same redstone pulse to also continue on up to the mob spawner to tell it to clear out anything that's inside of it. Okay. So that is going to get the item onto the pedestal, and thus into the mob spawner. But we want it to come out again automatically, and that's where this timer comes in. This timer starts counting down the moment the item, or the moment this toggle is flipped. And I can show you that by manually flipping the toggle. So what happens, this timer, I have it set to an arbitrary delay now. I'm thinking it'll be about 30 seconds. That should give enough time for mobs to start spawning, and hopefully to get at least one of the item that we're designing them to spawn. Okay, so what you see is that this timer continued counting down, and when it ended, it flipped the toggle latch back. That turns on this redstone again, which turns off the timer, conveniently. But what it also does is hit this pulse former, form a pulse, which then gets propagated through the whole thing again, which is basically going to clear whatever is in the auto spawner. I don't have it set up to clear currently. This pedestal isn't going to remove anything when the signal goes off. But just remember that anytime a redstone signal passes through any of these interconnected redstone conduits, it automatically clears anything that's in the mob spawner. Okay, so let's show you how this works. I'm going to take my Staff of Traveling, put it in this chest, and you will see it ends up there in the pedestal. Well, that didn't work. And I'm not sure why. It was working earlier. Okay, I'm going to try it again. Let's see what happens. Okay. Well, that time it worked. Oof, I'm going to have to do some testing. Hopefully I can get this to work pretty consistently. It is going to cause issues if it doesn't work consistently. The AE system will get stuck. Okay, you saw that second redstone pulse. That would have cleared the mob spawner. Okay, so now the question is, how am I integrating this with AE? And that's actually pretty simple. I've got this chest here, which has an inventory, meaning an ME interface can dump items into the chest. And I can simply have a recipe that says, for example, provide this specific Safari net, and it will produce... Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Another yawn. Okay, we'll use this one as an example, chicken. So we can say, use this chicken Safari net, it will dump it into this chest, and it will produce feathers. And so we can tell the AE system that it can make feathers anytime it likes by dumping this Safari net into this chest. Now, how are we going to give our AE system access to this Safari net? Very simple. I dug all this area out under that room, and all we have to do is slap some ME storage buses onto the bottoms of these pedestals. And when we do, the AE system will be able to detect all of the Safari nets, and it will be able to send them. So I've got access to the ME system over here. All I have to do is run some conduit over this way and slap some storage buses onto each of the pedestals. So I'm going to do that. I will also probably off camera move this circuit downstairs and then I will show you how it looks once I have. See you in a second. Okay guys, now it is time for the test. I went out and got a blizz for this last pedestal here, and a sheep for this one, so that they'd be filled. I moved everything downstairs. I think it should be working, but I haven't tested it yet, because I wanted you to be able to see my joy in success or misery in abject failure. I made a pattern, one blizz rod for one SafariNet blizz. And if I add it here to the interface, I should theoretically be able to request blizz rods. So if I request one, let's see what happens. Is my counter counting down? It is. Am I spawning blizzes? I am. Okay. That's pretty great. Ooh, I got some lag, hopefully from the blizzes. Let's watch the counter finish and see what happens. Counter is complete, circuit turns off, sent a pulse out, which subsequently turned off. Blizzes stopped spawning, and in fact, holy cow guys, the SafariNet with the blizz is back on its pedestal. Ladies, gentlemen, it is a success. I am quite pleased. Let's look. Yep. 14 blizz rods. Now, obviously, I'll need to think about whether that amount will be sufficient. It works very well when the drop is a common one. But if I'm looking for a super rare drop, like, for example, wither skeleton skulls, not super rare, but rare, I will need to alter that. Actually, unfortunately, I don't think this will be able to work for wither skeletons, because those require the machine to be set to spawn only identical mobs. Although I could have that be what I have it set at default. It just uses a lot more resources. But I have an infinite supply of mob essence. I'm not sure. Okay. I'll think about that. I'll consider it. I am going to... Oh, snow. I guess there is a slight problem with spawning blizzes, in that the system does not get rid of the snow they make, but that's okay. Okay, I'm going to get ready for what we might do next. I think I want to make a few other upgrades to our AE system to auto-craft items that we use commonly. Glass panes, that sort of stuff. I think in the last bit of this episode, I will show you how I'm going to set that up. And maybe we'll, set up much of it. I think it's a pretty simple task. But I'll be right back. Okay, guys. I have cleared a little space here. And I am going to show you my standard way of auto-crafting to keep our levels of certain necessities constant. Here's what I do. I take an interface, plop it down. Plop a precision export bus on that interface. and then make sure that it is active only with a redstone signal. Also, we need to tell it to always craft. So, active with signal, always craft. So, you go down the line like that. The next thing you need to do is set some ME level emitters to face your export buses. And finally, I didn't quite cut out enough here. You connect the two. So now, this would bother me forever. Oops. I need to make it symmetrical. Lovely. Okay. I guess theoretically I don't need this extra row here. I'll probably cover that up. So let's get an example. If we were to take, for example, glass. This is something I never have enough of. I'm constantly telling my system, hey, I need some glass. So, first thing, we make sure it's active with signal, always crafting. Now we tell the ME emitter to emit a signal when levels are below or equal to 256. And then we put glass here in the export bus. So theoretically, if we look up at our crafting monitor, we can see that we are making glass. Once we have reached 256 glass, nothing will be created. There's no additional thing that will happen. It won't thus be constantly asking the system for an item because it doesn't happen. I used to, sorry, that statement did not make any sense, but I used to do my auto smelting and auto pulverizing using a similar system to this, and it would tax my ME system because it would constantly be asking for items that we did not have. But this system, the way it is set up right now, is only going to ask for items until we reach that quota, and then it won't be asking for items in the system. Now, if the AE system doesn't contain all the necessary stuff to make what's being requested, then we might have an issue. But I think most of the things I'm going to put here are going to be pretty simple things that we're going to have handily. This is going to make 11 items. Given this setup, I can easily add another 11 just by mirroring it, digging out a little bit further and putting this same setup on the other side of these interfaces. And it would also not be difficult for most of these, at least, maybe all of them. I could add another set on top of the interfaces for an additional 11. Theoretically, I could go below the interfaces for 11 more. So even though this is a little bit on the expensive side for the initial setup, I won't have to make interfaces again for every crafting recipe or item I want to keep stocked. Okay, I'll probably go through off camera between this episode and next and add in all the items I want auto-crafted. There is one more thing I want to do this episode, and that is finally set up an ender pouch that will automatically input things into the AE system. So when I'm out exploring, if my inventory is full, I want to be able to just dump all the items I don't need at the moment into an ender pouch, have them all get added to the AE system automatically. This is super simple to do. All I need, and I'm going to try to mirror what I have here with the Tesseract a little bit. So, all I need is an ender chest, and by right-clicking on the latch with a diamond, it becomes a personal ender chest that only I can access. And then I need a precision import bus. Set that to move stacks of items. And anything, and then take this pouch and right-click on, sorry, maybe it's shift right-click. There we go. Shift right-click on the latch there of the ender chest. Now the two are linked. Look over here. When I open the pouch, it opens the chest. And when I put something in it, that glass, namely, it gets sucked out by the import bus. Awesome. If that wasn't fast enough for me, and in some cases maybe it wouldn't be, I could always add another import bus onto the same chest. I could put one there, I could put one over from this side. In the past, I've used ender chests for my auto mining setups, and when I do that, I basically surround them with import buses. But we're using a Tesseract, which has great throughput, so we don't need to worry about that in this build. Okay. I think that that'll do it for this episode. We've made some pretty great upgrades to our AE system. We have a way to automatically drop things off into it from afar. We're going to be able to auto-craft anything we commonly need. This is going to really help me out. I can't tell you how many times I've run out of glass or something like that partway through a project. And we've also hooked up our Monsteriary, monster spawner, whatever, monster spawner, to the AE system so it can auto-request the most common items from each of these mobs. I decided to go here with the black futuristic armor plating. I think it looks really good. I like the contrast of the switches and the button. I think that's what it was lacking before. I'm not sure. I might actually extend it up all the way on this wall. Might look good. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time.